with our team, and then we can get into those guys. But we just finished up. Really, our last 6-7 weeks phase has been our guys training in the weight room, training, running, those type of things. And we just finished that up this week, actually yesterday, with kind of our own pro day, so to speak, where we test all our guys. In the very same things that you would in an NFL pro day, just to get a gauge. And we had several guys that didn't participate just for one injury or another or whatever, or dinged here or there. But some really good stuff, from our guys that did participate in that. I think a couple of highlighted guys. I think one of the guys, Hassan Hall, was a great guy who ran a very fast time. I think our fastest time was Tyler Harrell, who ran, I think it's probably the fastest 40 that I've witnessed personally since I've been coaching. And it was, we had the clocks were anywhere from a 4.19 to a 4.26 in the 40. So he can run. And we're going to try to utilize that speed this fall, hopefully. And so he was one. I think another guy that really stood out was Trevor Reed, offensive tackle for us. He was, he verticaled over 33 inches and ran right at a, high 4.9, 4.98, 5.02, 40. He's 305 pounds and extremely athletic. So, he did a great job. Jack Fagot was another guy that tested really, really well. So, it was good. It was fun for our kids, and really just kind of it gets them a measurement to be able to see, all right, what I'm doing in the weight room and how that's translating into my athleticism on the field. And so many PRs. I think we had over 40 PRs throughout the team. I mean, so there's a lot of great stuff. So it was great. It was great to see and great to be able to put this down on paper for these guys. We missed out on this last spring because of the pandemic. We're not here. We did it the first spring, and I just got the results literally 30 minutes ago. So I'd like to go back and kind of compare, 2 years ago to see where we are to now. It'd be interesting to look at that. So we'll go back and look at that as we have time over the next few weeks. I think right now we're still waiting on some legislation for NCAA wise as it pertains to scholarship and scholarship numbers. I think some things are starting to come out now. They've been meeting nationally. One of the things that is kind of still up in the air is this year, our super seniors, we don't have to count them in our 85 count, right? So the thought was that was going to happen another year or two, but the way it's looking now is that we may have to count everybody on our team as we move forward. And so if that's the case, these guys that are coming back for that extra year next year, obviously we got to count them in our 85. What that'll do is limit our scholarships that we're going to have for this 2022 class. And I know right now there's a lot of talk out there nationally about recruiting because that's kind of what the phase we're in right now, where commitments are starting to come in for some teams. We're being very selective with that because we kept that in mind of the fact that we may only have scholarship wise 10 to 12 scholarships as we look at it for the 22 class. Not very many as you look at it compared to maybe 20, 25, 27, depending on where you're at. If you have to limit that to 10, we got to be very selective. If you're looking at that, that's only maybe 5 per side of the ball. Where we're always going to try to sign, offensive linemen, and we need a quarterback, and we know, so it's very limited in our scholarship numbers. I know, so fans and people out there look and say, okay, what are you guys doing? Well, we're very active in our recruiting. We have they are having opened this up. So in June, right now, we're having 2 official visits in June. Weekends, but then we'll have some one-offs in there as well. But 2 official visit weekends, the second weekend in June and the third weekend in June, where we're going to bring in probably 10 to 12 recruits each weekend during that time. We're also going to have camps this summer. That's going to be, we already passed. And so we have them on our website. I mean, we have, I think, maybe 4 one-day camps. We have an O-line, D-line camp, and a specialist camp. So we are going to have camps to be able to see. We haven't seen recruits on campus in so long, and a year and a half. So we can't wait for that. So June's going to be very busy for us. But I did want to let you guys know as far as scholarships, the number is going to be very limited. So we're very particular in what we're going to be taking this year as it pertains to scholarships. So I know that's a big talking point out there that I've been hearing about. But and then now, it's a big week for our program and a lot of programs across the country as draft week for the NFL is upon us. Excited for some of our guys. I mean, obviously the headliners out there for us, Tutu Atwell and Javian Hawkins and Des Fitzpatrick are three of the names that have obviously been mentioned by a lot of people out there. And I'm excited just like they are, about where they may land. So we'll kind of open it up with any kind of questions that you guys may have with that or anything I just talked about.
Hey, Scott, Cameron with the Courier Journal. On the topic of the draft, Tutu and Dez were guys who, when you got here, they were kind of solidified in their roles. Hawk was someone who wasn't really on the field the year before you got here, and you kind of had to find him. Just for those three, how much growth have you seen in them from when you first got here to where they're at right now?
Yeah, a tremendous amount, really. And I can go into all three, but when we first got here on Tutu, he was, everybody's talking about his weight right now, but we got here, he's about 140 pounds. I mean, he was little. And he was, as all three of these guys, and we, a whole new staff coming in, new culture, and the way we do things, obviously all new. It took some growing by everybody, really, our whole team, but particularly those three guys. They had to grow up a little bit and figure out, all right, what are these coaches doing? What are they telling us? What are they saying? But all three of these guys, to their credit, really kind of bought into what we were doing, and they excelled. And, you think about Tutu, he ended up putting on a lot of weight. He played last year, low 160s, 161, 162. Ironically, he just tweeted out today on the scales that he's 160 pounds. And, he's filming himself, and down to the scale, he's up to 160 right now. So that's plenty big enough. He's fast enough. He can go up and make plays. But he grew up a lot and obviously broke the school record as a receiver, catching, so many yards in that first year. Hawkins was a guy who was kind of down in the depth chart, maybe third or fourth on the depth chart when we first got here. And really, as we get into August, we really didn't know what he kind of was a second team guy. And all of a sudden, after about the first scrimmage, he moved up the first team, and then he broke the school record at the running back. It just kind of came out out of nowhere, and had a great season. And then last year, had a great season up until, the point that he decided not to play anymore. So he was great for us. And I think Fitzpatrick may have grew up more than anybody on our team. When we first got here, it was a little bit immature and about the way he handled his business and about the way he did things. And then, after that first semester, kind of thought, okay, let's go, and had a really good, solid first year, and then decided to come back and work on his craft and, did everything as an unselfish player. And, I was telling Rocco earlier, I've had some calls from pro NFL teams that just this week that are interested in him. And the thing that stood out is the way his willingness to go block from the wide receiver position, which is kind of ironic because you think about wideouts, think about how much production can I have catching the football and how many yards and touchdowns and all that. Well, his willingness to go block safeties and corners and linebackers are what has piqued interest in some teams, which is awesome for him, because I think that'll give him a chance because he obviously can run and catch and all that, but his willingness to go block is something that team he created value for himself with that. So I think that in itself is going to help him, as it propels him to that next level as well.
Hey, Scott, it's Jody Dimley with Cardinal Authority. When you were talking about all the recruiting and stuff like that, what's for you to get the staff back on the road and to get kids on campus? Just can you put in perspective of how big of an advantage that is for you guys with the facilities that you do have?
Yeah, well, yeah. To get them back on campus is huge because, obviously, we want to show off that. We're sitting here we got 5 football fields we can practice on and prepare to play, and our weight room and everything that we've done inside of our facility here, which we obviously want to show off. But we also want to get around the guys. I think one of our strong selling points is just, how open all our coaches are and everybody in our building, just to being around them and the atmosphere that they feel that you can't get from a Zoom call. You get a feeling, and when you're sitting in the room, it's so many times it's the downtime to me is where you learn a lot about people. So we're just sitting around goofing off before you go to the next thing. That's where you learn a lot about people. And so you don't get that on a Zoom call. So I think for them to come into our program and to be in our building and hanging out with all of us is what sells our program. We also get a great feel about what makes them tick. So is this what we really want to bring into our program? And so we're extremely excited about that, being able to bring them on, be around them. We have talked about how we've added a bunch of people in our recruiting department, all great people that are in their own unique abilities are going to provide a lot of great things for us, as we head down this road of recruiting, and we can't wait to show all this stuff off. So it's going to be great for us to get them on campus and to be around us and to see what we have to offer. So we're excited about that. We've lined up a bunch of players and families already in the month of June, and we'll probably have players in here every day throughout the whole month of June, not only just camp days, but every other day in between. So we're excited about it.
Hey, Scott, Michael McCammon, Cardinal Authority. I don't know if you can speak about it yet, but you recently added a defensive line transfer, and that's a position that you've been talking about wanting to get some experience through the transfer portal. At this point, I think you guys have added 5 through the portal. How do you feel about where you are, and are you guys still poking around looking to add a couple more?
Yeah, we really can't talk about them right now, but yeah, there are guys that we have added into our team that are going to be here, this summer. And once they get in here and all that, we'll certainly be glad to talk about them. But to answer your question, yes, we are still actively looking, at some certain spots where guys out there, there's a ton of guys out there, but we just don't want to get a guy. Just to get a guy, I think we want guys that have experience, that have played the position where we have positions of need. I think, nose tackle for us is a position of need that we certainly wanted to address. I think safety is right now the next spot where we have a position of need. We want to try to we got some good young players here, but maybe there's a guy out there that has some experience, that have played a bunch of ball, that can come in here and give us some depth. At the safety position. So I think that's probably a spot, the biggest need right now for us on our football team will be that spot. And we have some scholarships available for that. So we'll see what else is going to be out there. We know right now as teams are finishing up spring ball and spring games and having their exit interviews that, we're starting to see more and more guys that are getting in the portal and kind of seeing where it's at, and for us, it doesn't have to be a guy that's played at the Power 5 level. We don't mind looking at those guys maybe a little bit level down that have started for 3 or 4 years, all conference where they came from, and bringing, that's the kind of experience we want to bring in, that people that have that experience, that have played some good ball, that maybe in high school got overlooked for whatever reason, but they have a chip on their shoulder and they've continued to excel and play. And that's kind of what we've been looking for. Trey Clark's a great example of that. Trey Clark was a guy who went to Liberty, and he came here and shoot all conference ACC corner, and maybe one of the top corners in the league this year. So he's a great example of what we're looking for.
Hey, Scott, it's Jody again. When you were talking about the guys at the beginning and the testing, Trevor Reed's a guy that last year, I know you guys obviously he had a great junior college career. He looks the part. How big of a jump did he make from the end of the season until the end of spring ball?
Oh, man, huge jump. He was a guy that last fall was still learning, still trying to figure things out mentally, and still really coming into his own, but, physically as well, but really more mentally, just trying to come into his own. And then, this spring, Coach Bick comes in and, we kind of talked to him about, hey, look, Trevor Reed's one of these guys, man, that he needs to be a player, because he's long, he's athletic, he can do it. And in a few plays he had in the fall, he did a very good job. But what he did this spring, we just put him at left tackle and said, hey, you're starting, you go, go play ball. And he made some mistakes, but man, he got so much better after 15 days of playing at left tackle. And, this summer will be very crucial for him mentally, just getting all that down. Physically, he's changing his body and he's continuing to get stronger. But, he's a guy, in my opinion, over the next 2 years. 2 years from now, we're sitting here on this call, he's going to be one of these guys we're talking about. I think his future is so bright that he could be a guy that's going to be a Thursday night kind of guy 2 years from now as we sit here this week.
It's Scott Cameron again, kind of on the topic of Trevor Reed. I think I had a scout reach out to me about Trevor last year. He's a guy who I think people, just like you said, project him to be at that next level. What about him or his game do you feel like grew the most during the spring?
Yeah. Well, I think he's got great feet, and he's always been able to have great feet. So when you have really good feet, then you can pass protect. So you can move back, you can move in those quick defensive linemen and be able to maneuver with them. I think the thing that he's really grown in is this run blocking. I think coming off the ball right away, knowing who to block in the run game, and then latching on, and then driving that guy down the field and finishing those blocks. To me, that's where he's gotten a lot better. Of really understanding the run game and knowing where he needs to go with that. So I think this summer, as he goes, like I said, that'll be huge for him as we head into August camp. I think he could have a really, really solid year for us as we head into the fall at left tackle. He gives us a lot more players. So you think about him now. He was a backup last year. If he's starting, we feel really good. I mean, there's about 8 guys we feel we can get in there and play right now up front. The most depth we had since we've been here. And you think about even the last game, Austin Collins and Josh Black started the last game against Wake Forest, and offensively we had a pretty good day. I think the other guy, Luke Kandra, is another guy who's had a great offseason. Luke Kandra, great offseason. He tested great, man. Luke Kandra he actually ran the fastest 40 anybody up front. And his shoulder is wide as my desk. I mean, it is unbelievable how big Luke Kandra is. I mean, and he's a guy who's very young, and he's gotten better and better and better. Very excited about him. And I think, there's obviously other guys that have done some great things. Brian Hudson, Michael Gonzalez. I mean, we got some guys that we can play up front on top of the ones that started last year. So, I mean, we're excited about the guys up front.
And then, Scott, back on the topic of Dez and Hawk and Tutu, what's it like? I mean, you've had 2 years, pretty successful offense in terms of big plays, putting up a lot of numbers. Those 3 guys have been a staple of the offense. Just what's it like to now see them get their shot at the next level?
Yeah, and I'm obviously really excited for those guys. When we first got here, we are like, okay, what do we have? Where are our strengths, weaknesses, and what do we need to really emphasize on? And so as you work through the spring practice of that first year and then jumping into that fall, in August, we obviously started seeing those guys show, Tutu, Dez, and then Hawk started showing in August. And I'm like, all right, we got to get the ball to these guys, So really what we focused on that very first year was, how many times can Tutu get touches? Hawk is going to get his carries. If he stays healthy, he'll have a big year. And to their credit, man, they just stuck with it. They stayed healthy, and they were able to get great production. The second year, obviously, Tutu got dinged up a little bit. Hawkins, didn't play the last 4 games. To Dez's credit, finish out and play the year. They played themselves into this opportunity, and I think I'm excited for them to be able to see that. And as an NFL guys, I mean, they got their criteria, what they look for, and this and that. And the biggest thing, I'm talking to some of these NFL people, and the biggest thing is what's inside. The biggest thing is what's in their heart. How hard are they going to go? They're going to come to work every single day and go hard. Well, these guys, when they were here on the practice field, in the way they went hard. And you can tell anybody that has some ability that comes in here and puts the work in like that, they're going to be able to produce. And they did that. And I was telling these guys that are calling, listen, they're going to get better and better as they move on. So wherever you think they are right now, and if you like them, then it's going to be good if you get them, because they're going to continue to improve. They're going to play with the chip on their shoulder. Those are the kind of guys you want, in your program. And so I think, I'm excited for them. And I think wherever they go, they're going to have some great opportunity to really help their organization.
Hey, Scott, Michael McCammon again. You mentioned that, in the testing, that was something you weren't able to do last year because of the pandemic. I've noticed, on social media, you guys are doing some other things, just some, team building stuff, getting together in the groups. How big is that for you guys to be able to connect like that this year?
Man, it's so huge. I mean, it's like our, secret sauce. I mean, is that because when you have a tight knit group and organization, man, it's hard to break that bond. And we're as tight right now as we've ever been since we've been here. I had our leadership group up to my house last night. We're out. There's 11 players out there last night, a few staff members. I mean, we're playing basketball, cornhole. We played for 2.5 hours after we ate. At the house. I mean, we're just hanging out. I mean, that's the kind of bond that you want, because when you face adversity and you have that kind of bond, nobody flinches. Everybody just responds, and we're all responding the same way. And there's no finger pointing. There's no what ifs. There's no, what are we doing? It's, hey, I got your back, you got mine, let's roll. And that's where we are with these guys. And it's been so much fun to see everybody come together this spring that we didn't get for those 4 months last year. I mean, it's a huge part of our program that we have to be able to do. So we'll continue to do those things. Our guys right now are going to get a break. We have a team meeting today, actually here in 10 minutes. And then they'll get a break back home. And, and then they'll be back here at the end of May. And so, they really get a break from us, but they're going to be training hard when they're back home for these 3 weeks. And everything they've gained when they get back here will be ready to rock and roll. But I can't wait to get them back.
Hey, Scott, have you talked to the team about getting vaccinated, and kind of you think all the guys will go through that, or is that Is that something you're giving them the choice to personally to do?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously we're giving them a choice. We're not mandating that. I know I've seen that out throughout the country. I've seen maybe a couple of schools say, hey, you got to get vaccinated. Most of those are private schools, but we've opened it up, and I don't know what the number is today. How many guys have been vaccinated? Several said they're going to be vaccinated once they got home over this break. We're up over 40, 45 players vaccinated at this point, and I think obviously there'll be some more that'll get vaccinated, but I would say majority of our staff has been vaccinated, coaches and those type of things. So, I think, at this point we'll see, how it ends up. But right what we're doing right now is, hey, it's voluntary. If you feel, inclined, get the vaccination. We think you should. I mean, we told, listen, I got to vaccinate. Everybody, the coaches raising their hand, like we got to we got the vaccination, guys. We feel, it's safe to go out and get it. And because there's incentive. You don't have to. We don't have to be tested like we were tested. You don't have to, wear his mask. All the things. Our country is starting to open back up now because of that. We just our governor just came out yesterday or the day before. Outside less than 1,000 people, you don't have to wear masks. So I mean, there's a lot of things that are starting to open up, and it's because of the vaccination. So yeah, we're encouraging it for our guys to get it, and hopefully over break a lot of them will do that before they get back.
And then lastly for me, real quick, going back to the draft again, those three, how much do you feel like they set the tone for what you want this offense to be, or what you want the guys stepping into those spots to be in the rest of your tenure here?
Yeah, man. I mean, anytime, in the same year, you can have a receiver break the school record. We've had some good receivers here at Louisville. You break the school record, and the running back break the rushing record for a running back. I mean, that's what we want. We want those kind of guys, that kind of production. We want to continue to be able to do that, elevate our offense, continue to improve on defense and those stats on that side. Let's get some defensive players drafted, as well. And we're headed in that direction, I think, with some of our good young players. So these guys set the tone for us when we first got here. And now that gives these other guys, these young guys, something to shoot for. Hey, I remember when Tutu was here. Here's what he did. That's what I want to do. Same thing with Hawk, and Dez. And so, that's kind of, they've laid a great foundation for us and our program. And we can't wait to see what the next group is going to be able to do.
Hey, Coach.
Anything else for Coach? Oops, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. With Sports Illustrated. Kind of going back to recruiting for the 22 class, since you do have a smaller class, or expecting it to be smaller than normal, what are some of the areas or need you're pursuing more so than others?
Probably the biggest area of need is in the secondary. We're looking to probably take 3, potentially 4 guys in that secondary. So if you're only signing 10, I mean, that's eating up almost half your class. So that's going to be a big need for us. I think offensive line, we're recruiting several offensive tackles right now. I think what we got as far as OVs coming in, maybe 5 guys that are coming in for official visits this summer at the offensive tackle position. Running back, we always want to continue to bring running backs in here. So I think that'll be another position of need, and then wide receiver. So as you look at that, I mean, it's going to be close to 10 as you look at that. Quarterback is obviously we want to sign a quarterback every year. So that's probably it. On defense, like I said, the biggest needs is secondary, safeties, corners. Those guys help on special teams as well. And we're really particularly looking at body types. And if we can get the 6'1", 190 body type, I mean, to me, you can't have enough of those type guys. If you get some length, guys that can run, then you can start plugging them in, safety, corner, our guard position, outside backer. So there's a lot of versatility there. So it'll be interesting to see. On that note, some of the guys that we signed in this freshman class, it'll be interesting by the time we get to August, which guys were corners that are now safeties, which guys were safeties that are now corners, which guys are safeties that are now linebackers. So that'll be a pretty good story, I think, as we head into fall camp.
Hey, Coach, it's Jody again. One more from me. You've mentioned a lot, and I know when we had Coach Ivey during spring, he bragged on Ashton and what he had done since he's gotten on campus. How were you impressed with what he did testing? Because I know he's a strong guy.
Yeah, he's a real strong guy. He's he did. I was sitting there looking at it. He did one of the better jobs in the defensive line room. He ran the fastest 40 out of the bunch. He power cleaned. What was it? I think 350 that we put that out maybe or 3. No, he power cleaned 365, which was one of the tops on the team. He's extremely athletic. He's put on, I don't know, 25 pounds since he's been here in January. He's changed his body. He's going to continue to get better. He's extremely fast, quick. He plays with great leverage. He plays about 4 feet off the ground and, is flat back. I mean, he's exactly what you want. So he's gonna make noise this year as a true freshman. And I think he's had a great 4 or 5 months right here. Bigger things to come for him.
All right, coach has got a team meeting at 3, so we'll have to conclude right there.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all soon.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Rocco.
Appreciate it.
See you guys.